In this episode of the Golf Psychology Sessions, one of the world's leading golf psychology coaches, Carl Morris, who's worked with 6 major champions and hundreds of PGA Tour and DP World Tour players from all over the world, gives me a psychology putting lesson. And boy, do I need it. So this is a genuine psychology putting lesson for me, because this is the part of my game that I'm really struggling with. Right. And the reason for that is I think that when I was younger, it was without doubt the strongest part of my game. I don't mind telling you, Carl, I was a fantastic putter when I was younger, and now it's the worst part of my game. My technique, I feel, is pretty solid, but I'm now in a state of mind where I don't think I believe I'm going to make these putts, whereas before it was like I'm going to hole every putt I take on when I was younger. Right. So I've got to try and get myself into a different mind space to try and start, because there's nothing worse than walking off the course having played well and you've holed nothing, and it's the most it was ever going to be.
So straight away there, Craig, before we even look at anything that you're doing with your putting, I would say that you're falling victim of the story, or a story.
Yeah. So I'm delighted to say that the Scratch at 50 Psychology channel has partnered with Caddy. Caddy is an app that gives you access to one of the world's leading golf psychology coaches, who's worked with 6 major champions and hundreds of PGA Tour, DP World Tour players from all over the world. Watch this video to the end, where you can get a special offer to get access to Caddy today.
You've just narrated to me that you were really good in the past.
Yes.
Right. Think about what that is as a story.
Yeah, I know.
And you've now.
I know this is a terrible story. It's a tragic story.
And the story now is that I can't hold these putts, and if I don't hold this, I'm going to have a bad. And there's lots of stories going on.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we can either keep living in stories, which are all made up.
Yeah.
They're based on some facts, but they're still made up, and we come back to reality. And the biggest way, or the best way for people, I think, getting back into reality with putting is what I call the possible question.
Okay.
Now, if we were looking at on the golf course here, and you had to carry a tee shot into the wind 370 yards, is that possible?
No.
Clearly not. I mean, I know you're all right, but
no, that's not
you're
possible.
not going to do that. But we've now got, I don't know, an 8-foot putt here on the green.
Yeah.
You've never had this putt before.
No.
You're never going to have it again. Is it possible you could hold this putt?
Yes.
The reality is that's the truth.
Yeah.
Are you definitely going to hold it? No. Are you definitely going to miss it? No.
Yeah.
But it is possible.
Right.
See, again, Fred Shoemaker said to me many, many years ago, he said, the bravest thing that you can do as a golfer is stay open to possible.
Okay.
Now, I would say there's a lot of rounds that you've missed putts like this before you even get to it.
Yeah, and I missed them when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I never thought I was going to miss them.
But the story was different.
Yeah, exactly.
Wasn't it? So I think it's time to draw a line in the sand of all the old stories.
Yeah.
And the story now is it possible? So to walk on a green and the first putt that you have on a day, is it possible I could hold this?
Yeah.
Well, yes, it is.
Yes,
So the possible is key. Then we get down to, okay, well, what do we need to do to hold it? Talk me through, with this 8-footer here, we're in that opportunity range. Talk me through what you would normally do. What's your process of trying to hold this putt?
Yeah, so I'd take my reed first.
Yeah.
So I don't use aim point or anything like that. So I'd look all around the putt. So there's probably not too much in this, probably about right half. I would then line up the line on my ball on my reed.
Yeah.
And then once I'm there, I stand behind the putt, and then I try and picture, I'm trying to do all the right things. Mm-hmm. I try and picture a line from my ball going into the hole on my reed, and then picturing where the center of the hole is based on my reed, which would be around here.
Okay.
Then I think this is the bit where I'm now struggling. From there, everything's really good. But as soon as I get over the ball, I just know I'm not convinced that I'm going to make it. And it's not because I'm worried about my stroke or anything.
Right.
I think it's just that my confidence has become so low now that that belief system's kind of just gone away. Whereas actually what you're saying is right. If I just think about this as just a task, is that I've just got to hit that ball 8 foot. Can I do that? Of course I can do that.
Yeah, that's not an impossible.
And I think that's where I've got to switch this now.
Switch that.
It's not get over it thinking I keep missing these. It's to actually, this is quite a simple thing to do.
As I said, this putt you've never had before.
No.
You're never going to have it again. If we isolate it down to that possible question, is it possible I could hold it? The reality is yes. What I'm interested in, though, Greg, is that when you get over it, you've talked about your read and the line and everything. When you say I've lost my confidence, I prefer to talk about your attention's in the wrong place.
Okay.
Everybody's putting. Yes, it's a combination of stroke, but primarily on the golf course, it's about where your attention is.
Yes.
So what is your attention actually on?
So as I am about to take my stroke, I am just focusing totally on my target, which will be where I think the ball is going to enter the hole.
Right. How clearly would you say you hold that target?
Probably not as clear as I should do.
Right.
Probably.
So let's just try something. And very often what we end up doing with putting, I know technique's important, but very often what we end up doing is putting. The more we struggle, the more we think.
Yeah.
And we put more and more layers of complexity in there.
Can I just say one thing? Because I think this is important.
Yeah.
I do sometimes get stuck over the ball.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I've been really working on recently trying to get my trigger, so at least my timing on stepping into the ball, the timing is the same.
Right.
And I've been doing that a little bit better recently.
Right.
But that's definitely been an issue in the recent past.
To me, anytime anybody gets stuck in golf, it's because the brain is saying, well, what do you want me to do?
Yes.
It's not clear on what the task is.
Right.
There's too much noise going on
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Now, many players will putt better with a line, I know that, but you're struggling with your putting, so let's look at some different options. If we stripped everything away, Greg, if I perhaps gave you a different putt here.
Yeah.
So we'll go out to say 10 feet there, 12 feet.
Yeah.
And I just simply said to you, now, as you look at this putt, if I just said the only question is, where will this ball go into the hole? And I want you to just answer that question.
Right half.
Can you see that?
I can.
Okay. Now, what I want you to do is just hold that image as you actually step into it, and then just react to that image.
Okay. It's actually a good putt.
Very good putt.
Yeah.
What was the actual process like then?
Well, for sure, my mind wasn't concerned with anything else than just what you put in my mind there, which was the right-hand side of the hole.
Yeah. Tiger always said when he played his best golf, he always said, I put to the picture.
Yeah.
And the thing is, our brain and body system is wonderful at reacting to a clear intention. If we did this now, if I get a ball and I pick a ball up and I throw that ball to you and then you throw it back to me, well, you know, we'll be pretty good at this. You know, we can start to move around, and if you actually look at what's going on there, there's some pretty amazing things happening.
Yeah.
But the task is clear.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Here's a ball, catch it, throw it back to him moving around.
Yeah, and you instinctively do it.
You instinctively do it. So I would say, you know, if all the technical stuff works for you with putting, great.
Yeah.
It isn't at the minute for you. So if we strip it down to 2 questions when you walk onto every green, is it possible I could hold this putt?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. And then if we said, right, we'll give you another one here. If the other question simply is, where does this ball go in the hole?
Yeah.
And you just ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
So what's the answer to it on this one here? Where does the ball go in the hole here?
It's probably going to turn a little bit more. So, yeah, I'm going to be concentrating on the right lip.
Okay. Now again, very good putt.
Yeah, yeah. I don't mind if I miss a putt like that, and I know that I had a really positive mental thought. I can deal with that. It's when I miss a putt and I know that my mind had got in the way
Got
of
in the
me.
way
You
of
know
it.
what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the frustrating thing.
And then when you do that, you know, that's, I always say to people, if the first step to improving the putting is to miss better.
Yeah.
And that sounds stupid,
Yeah, no,
but
it's so true.
But that's a good miss.
Yes.
You've missed it dead weight pretty much on the
Yeah.
high side there,
Yeah.
haven't you?
Yeah.
That's close to having a chance to go in.
Yeah.
Standing there and having a head full of stuff,
Yeah.
and then dribbling it low side,
Yeah.
or bulleting it through,
Yeah.
that feels frustrating.
Yeah, there's
then.
been so many times where I knew it was missing halfway through it, and there's nothing more demoralising than that.
You know, when you said I used to be a good putter, that capability's not gone anywhere.
No, that's what I've got to tell myself. That.
You know, we're pretty good. Not many people struggle using a knife and fork because they're clear what the task is.
Yeah.
You know, we can brush out. There's a million things we could use like that, but to me, if you sort of said, right, for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to strip putting down to 2 questions.
Yeah.
Is it possible? That cuts off all the stories.
Yeah.
Where does this ball go into the hole? And I think that question, where does this ball go into the hole, is just a great way of reading greens.
It is. It is.
Because your brain will work it out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If I can do this, which I know I can, I know I can do it, it's going to turn those 75, 74s into 69, 70s, 71s.
Now you're competing now.
Yeah.
And you know, just from being a kid again, that, you know, the idea of seeing a ball go in left lip and then doing it, it just feels good. You're connecting back to that, you know, you're becoming childlike instead of childish.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, a lot of people end up being childish where they miss putts and the head goes off and all the rest of it. Childlike is, what does the ball need to do to go in the hole? Right, it needs to do that.
Yeah.
Right, let's go and do it.
Getting that thrill of doing it.
Getting the thrill of doing it.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. Thanks, Carl.
My pleasure.
Hope you enjoyed that episode of the Golf Psychology Sessions. If you want to get continued advice from Carl, you can subscribe to the Mind Caddy app. Go into the description of this video for a special offer as a viewer or subscriber of the Scratch at 50 Psychology channel.